March 11th, 2023, and this video is called Fukushima, Japan, None Step Forward, Two Steps Back. And the reason why I say that is if you think that this disaster is going to be solved anytime soon, I seriously think that this is going to last not only my generation and your generation and the future generation. I think you're looking at 1,000 years. This is going to survive human civilization, I think. And the reason why I say that is because this is not being told what's actually going on over there. TEPCO's in charge, so they filter out information, and I think if the world really knew what was going on, they'd probably crap themselves. I'm following a couple people on Twitter that they actually are posting in Japanese, but you could translate it. And if you're getting your news just from your mainstream media, you have no clue on what's going on over there. People in Japan are actually posting some stuff, but you'll never know it. Not only that, like TEPCO is in charge of the store, and they're ripping the store off blind. But when the manager comes in and does inventory, TEPCO's just says, "Yeah, there's 100 steaks there," even though they took 99 of them. So they're in control of the information. Remember, and this. Fukushima, they are assaulting us through our human genome from every element, through the land, through the air, through the water, through fire, and they're contaminating every aspect of the planet through Fukushima and their lies and their incompetence. The land, the atmosphere, the sea, it's all getting contaminated through their dumping it, through their incinerating it, through their transfections of the isotopes just being displaced every day, every storm. So I've been following this lady who was a U.S. citizen raised in Japan, and she posts a ton of stuff. Although she was suspended, that this is like, if you go on Twitter, you don't have to sign up for it, but you could actually follow some of this stuff. And she posts some brilliant stuff because she cares. Now, what's crazy is through this one, it seems like people in Japan don't even know what's going on. Only the local newspaper reported the worst radiation plume after the huge explosion in reactor building number 3 on 3/14 that hit Tokyo. Now they're saying it never went down to Tokyo. It went beyond Tokyo and the metro area on 3/15. Dense plume that hit even Shizuoka to east of Aichi, never been reported by the national press. Now this is actually, it looks like it's out of a newspaper. You could actually see where they printed the direction of the wind where the plume was going. This map is literally showing the stuff blowing into and past Tokyo. Now this is Shizuoka, west of Tokyo. Here's the air dose on March 2011. Now here's the precipitation. Here's the radiation dose rate. Now whenever it rained, that's where the spikes of radiation came. So it was floating all around Tokyo and beyond, but it came down only in black rain. Only when it rained is when it brings those particles to the ground. A radioaudiograph of a mask used on 3/15 for 18 hours at Tokyo University. Look at this mask. It caught all these particles. That's why they say it's hot, because these are literally radioactive hot particles. Now, can you imagine, if that person wasn't, how many people weren't wearing masks in Tokyo? And this is the debris that was caught on the mask. And if you look at the measurements in Tokyo, a becquerel is 1 disintegration a second. They're picking up 60,000. This one over here is 84,000 disintegrations a second in a kilogram. I mean, that's like mind-blowing. Considering our food levels they raised them up to, I think, 1,200 becquerels kilogram in our food. So they're allowing 1,200, but look what was in the air or on the ground. 84,000 disintegrations a second. That's why it's called hot. This is the Shizuoka region, right? Now look at this. That's way down in here. Tokyo is here, and Fukushima is right over here. That's Fukushima right there. Now what's a little weird is I bought green tea from this region over here and tested it, and there definitely was radiation in it. I just used a Geiger counter, and the company that I bought it from, they sent me an email saying that I should take my video down because I'm spreading misinformation. I don't think it was misinformation. I was just showing in a video what the Geiger counter was telling me. I didn't manipulate that at all. Now here's good old Elon Musk. For those who mistakenly think that this is a radiation risk, opening up nuclear power plants in Europe, pick what you think is the worst location. I will travel there and eat locally grown food on TV. I did this in Japan many years ago, shortly after Fukushima. Radiation risk is much, much lower than most people believe. What a joker. Fukushima decommission is Japan's biggest grift in history of grifting. Even spent fuels in units 1 and 2 and other pools are still hot. The damaged pressure vessel, reactor pressure vessel, collapsed. If it collapsed, it can trigger a nuclear disaster worse than 3/11. International help seriously wanted, as Japan government doesn't even face it. This is incredible. This is the next disaster that's going to come out. This is going to be worse. Now, this is the part right here, this skirt that is holding up the reactor pressure vessel that contains the spent fuel. And if this thing, which the concrete has been melted away or disintegrated, all you have is the rebar. The rebar doesn't necessarily hold up the weight. It's supposed to keep the concrete together. And look at this. The concrete melted away over here, and it's holding. So if there's an earthquake, like she says, if there's an earthquake, this is going to collapse. And this is just going to be worse than any horror movie that Japan has ever seen. Decontamination does not eliminate radioactive substances. They have transfection, which means is these particles are just moving around the country, and through the water cycle ends up going into the sky, coming down as rain. It's just spreading around the earth. Little progress seen in removing fuel debris at Fukushima plant. TEPCO has little to show in removing fuel debris at Unit 1 nuclear power plant in the 12 years since the disaster started. The company, in fact, has postponed the work. An estimated 880 tons of fuel debris remain in Unit 1, 2, and 3 reactors at the plant. Remote control operations must be used to remove the fuel debris because radiation levels in the reactor buildings could kill a person in 1 hour. TEPCO had initially planned to start removing the fuel debris at Unit 2 reactor when the level of radiation is comparatively low at the end of 2022. However, the company announced in August of that same year that it had abandoned this target, citing delays in developing a robotic arm that could be used to remove the debris. Now you got to remember, technology has not even been invented yet to remove this stuff. So this is the dust monitor measurement status near the site boundaries, which are right around here. Here's the site boundaries, not even near the reactors. Now, what you have here is measurements is becquerels per cubic centimeter. A cubic centimeter is a cube. Now, 1 centimeter is a little less than a half an inch. So this is kind of weird too, because Here is what they have. Here's the stations, the colors, and it looks like it was kind of pretty busy, windy on the 10th. Here's the 11th, and here's the 16th. Look at this. It looks like every station was picking up radioactive dust. Now, a cubic centimeter, that's it, like a half-inch cube in this area. So a little, I'd say that's about the size of a grape. That's the measurement space that they're recording. And if you have that small size, and look at on this date, and even on the 10th, where every station was picking up dust, that would mean this whole area is picking up this whole area is picking up dust. Japan government to demonstrate safety of radioactive soil removed in Fukushima for reuse in public works and horticulture in Saitama, north of Tokyo. Maximum 8,000 becquerels a kilogram is of cesium. But all other isotopes they're ignoring. They only stick to cesium. Putting clean soil over and measuring air dose does not make it safe. Ministry of Environment claims incineration of ever more than 8,000 becquerels a kilogram with a traditional bug filter is safe, even in Tokyo, cesium being incinerated ash. I mean, they're just burning this stuff. It's just crazy. Just going right up into the air. Now here's the total cancer cases at the registered hospitals from 2008 to 2017. And definitely for all these people that say, oh, Fukushima hasn't killed one person, they're total liars. This is just in black and white. There's definitely cancer going around in Japan. Japan is a hotspot for cancer. Japan rushes to revive its nuclear power plants as if nothing has happened. Did you not forget the lesson that people became uninhabited due to the failure of their national policy? They do not step into fundamental solutions such as the promotion of renewable energy. That's what I'm saying, is where is the money spent on solar and wind? Remember, we first had a computer that was the size of a building. Now it's the size of a pinhead. So the technology can be improved, but they don't want to improve it. A fuel debris removed, fuel in the reactor pressure vessel that solidified once again after melting and falling is referred to as fuel debris. That's the RPV, the reactor pressure vessel. That's that guy right there. If the Fukushima vessel collapses, it may cause the pipes to break, unable to cool the melted core, hydrogen explosion, destruction of the cover, spent fuel pool collapses, no more work possible. Worst case scenario is 21,000 tons of spent fuel not cooled yet, including the 880 tons of melted. It's just out of control. The RCV is designed to contain the radioactive materials to prevent their external release in the event of the loss of the coolant. Which is just everywhere. There's this dust that's coming out of this place. There used to be a vacuum cleaner that used to come in here and try to clean it up. They used to hoover this. So this whole area is just totally blowing around with radioactive dust. This Fukushima resident, I must run away as far as possible. If any abnormal thing occurs at Daiichi damaged Unit 1 reactor may collapse if an earthquake jolts it. If the spent fuel falls down, even Tokyo would be in peril. It'll be worse than 311. And let's not forget Japan. 12 years in, and they still can't remove a few grams of the 880 tons of highly toxic waste because 1 hour of work would kill the worker, and the robots are not up to it. Disposal? No idea. Let's just dump it into the Pacific Ocean. A Fukushima plant head, too early to predict decommissioning. Going forward, we have to face unconceivably difficult work such as retrieving the melted debris from the inside of the reactors. Earlier this year, a remote-controlled underwater vehicle successfully collected a tiny sample from inside one of the 3 melted reactors. Only a spoonful of the 880 tons of highly radioactive melted fuel and other debris that must be safely removed and stored. The status of the debris in the primary containment chamber of Unit 1, 2, and 3 remains largely unknown. Now you got citizens going around the country doing dose measurements. During the measurement, the gyro Geiger started making a warning sound, so I was curious and looked around and found a soil that showed a space from 1 centimeters above the ground and 19 microsieverts. From the height of the lightweight, it's obviously abandoned soil brought from somewhere. Exactly when and where did they get it from? Fukushima Reactor 1 pedestal that holds the reactor pressure vessel lost all the concrete around it. Quakes keep jolting and the whole building and they shake and is unstable. If it collapses and destroys the spent fuel pool, it could be worse than 311, as fuels emit fatal radiation and may cause nuclear fire as well. Look at this. Ongoing and could be worse. Unit 1 reactor bottom lost concrete reinforcement. If it collapses to hit the fuel pool. I mean, here's Krypton 85 in exhaust. Fukushima Unit 1 spiked after a earthquake, a 7.4 earthquake. So it could have damaged it already. Here's they had the earthquake, and boom, you got rises in radiation. Number of new outpatients with disease from 2011 to 2018. Look at this. Malignant lymphomas, multiple myelomas, abnormal blood counts, anemia, leukemia. They're totally lying to you. New book, Why Cancers Increased by 600,000 in Tokyo and metro area. Big data suggests link between radiation and cancers. Why not? Japan government basically ignores internal exposure to downplay nuclear fallout's effect only in Fukushima, but no such thing as a border for radioactive dust. There's no such thing. It just goes everywhere. Only Fukushima government not detected radioactive cesium in marine fishes in the past 4,000 tests. Other East Coastal prefectures keeps finding it. Look at this. They all find it in Iwate, Miyagami. But in Fukushima, they find nothing. All none detected. So this is just like the guy that's counting the meat in the store, the produce. He's just totally lying. That's why TEPCO in Japan cannot be trusted. In Japan, a state of nuclear emergency was declared in the evening of March 11, 2011. 12 years later, the state of nuclear emergency is still in effect. And they're trying to bring these people in to resettle these areas. And tens of thousands of Fukushima residents are still displaced after 12 years. The consequence of only hours of the Fukushima Daiichi Station blackout will nag Japan for a maximum 1,000 years. This is going to outlive humanity, I have a feeling, the consequences of this accident. They met with a few companies over the years about tritium filtration, but didn't commit. I think they're afraid of what information they'd have to reveal to work with the outside independent entity. This is exactly it. They do not want to reveal their work with an outside independent entity because you'll know that what is really going on over there. It's a true cover-up on the biggest scale ever. It may take 200 years to remove the melted cores. It's another 100 years to remove the Fukushima facilities. Without deeper walls, toxic water won't end with the tanks. Fukushima may have scattered plutonium widely. To date, plutonium from the accident has been detected as far as 50 kilometers away from the damaged reactors. Researchers have previously thought that this plutonium, like the cesium, was released after evaporating from the fuel, but the new analysis points to some of it may have escaped from the stricken plant in particle form from within fragments of fuel. Fukushima cleanup costs swell with no end in sight. This is mind-blowing here. Japan has spent roughly $7 billion annually on the damage caused by the meltdowns at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that occurred 12 years ago, and the final price tag is still uncertain. A civil case filed by TEPCO shareholders, the Tokyo District Court ordered in 2022 4 former TEPCO executives to pay 13 trillion yen, which is $95 billion in damages to the operator of the damaged plant, but nothing to the victims. In 2021, Japan announced that it will start discharging over 1 million metric tons of radioactive treated wastewater from Fukushima Daiichi into the Pacific starting in 2023. The dumping will continue for 3 decades or more. Another nuclear cover-up by TEPCO to hide their phony water filtering process, which nobody can monitor besides them. The AIEA is playing along to cover their livelihoods. They are playing the Japanese and world scientists for fools, and they believe that they can get away with it. Rain washes radiation out to the Pacific. They're taking measurements right outside the bay here, which is getting caught by these walls. 50% of the harbor water is exchanged with the open sea water daily. Edible wild plants and mushrooms from Fukushima prefecture have cesium 134, 137, greater than 100 becquerels or more, according to the nuclear regulatory law and drum canning control areas. No report, though, to the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. I mean, look at this. They're finding contaminated produce, mushrooms, all over the country here, far away from where Fukushima's at. Reports that deceive the public by talking about harmful rumors. It's not just food testing cesium. I'm talking about measuring all beta and alpha radioactivity. Look at this. At the ground level, it measures at 35 millimeters, it measures 24,000 becquerels. But when they go up to 85 millimeters, it's measuring close to 4,000 becquerels. So they're sneaky, is what they are. The pro-spec mask, hazmat, mandatory in any dusky situation in area with 307 becquerels a kilogram. For nuclear site workers, 615 becquerels is legal. Controlled radiation area standard. No minors, no food, beverages, maximum only 10 hours in that area for adults. The rice food standard of 100 becquerels a kilogram, which is more than 3,300 times the level before the earthquake, is also abnormal. I think before Fukushima, 100 becquerels a kilogram was considered nuclear waste. You had to put it in a barrel and dispose of it. And they raised those levels 3,300 times before the accident. In America, it's 1,200 becquerels in your food. It is hard to understand that there are so many new fission products that will remain in the long term for eternity by fissioning uranium. Look at all this stuff. Cesium, strontium, plutonium, americium, thorium, uranium, neptunium. This is what it blows me away here is look at the half-life, or actually Yeah, it's the half-life of uranium-235 is 700 million years. And we're worried about cesium that's got a half-life of 30. And then look at this one. Uranium-238 is 4.5 billion years. It is about the age of the solar system. So this is going to last. This is going to outlast humanity and civilization, I have a feeling. If you got this stuff still cooking in Japan, and it's going to outlive humans. But I'll end it on this. This is a great quote. Animals have to burn a finger to learn. Humans have to burn the planet to learn. Never-ending disaster. Fukushima has taught us this. Will we learn? Seemingly true, though. Only we, the people, can stop it, correct it. Hope never dies. I'm kind of losing hope on this.